Hey everybody, welcome to Oldskool Auto Revival. Man, have I got a treat for you today. We've got this late 40s Dodge Power Wagon, and this thing is a monster. For you guys that don't know a whole lot about these, this actually is a civilian version of Dodge's military weapons carrier platform. This came right off the battlefield of World War II and got put into civilian life. They just put a different cab on it and a box. Other than that, this thing is built for war. So stay tuned, check it out, and let's see if we can get this old beast back on the road after 4 decades of sitting in the weeds. Alright guys, well, let's tear into this beast and see what we got. So, first thing, let's pull the plugs out of this and see what we're dealing with. She's got a bunch of dirt around the plugs. Clean this up. Get a little penetrating fluid in there. Alright, let's clean these plugs off. Throw a little coil on them. We'll let that soak for about 5 minutes. Alright, let's rip these plugs out and see what we got.
No rust. Good. No rust. Good. Just nice and carboned up. That's what we want to see. A little bit of rust color on there, but not bad. Just carbon. And just some carbon. So far so good. I'm gonna throw a bore scope in there and see what we got. Oh. Everything looks so good so far. There's some carbon buildup on there. I don't really see much rust in there. Now I want to spin this over by hand and see if we can feel any valves hang up. Everything's feeling pretty good. I'm going to throw a battery in this. See if we can get this to spin with the starter. See if we can get and you can see what we got for compression. Alright. I'm going to try this starter. I got a new battery in here. We'll see if this spins over. Yep. I'm going to throw a little coil on the valves to make sure they don't stick. We don't have nothing sticking in there. I did hear one valve pop, so one was trying to hang up. Let's try that again. All right. Let's throw a compression gauge in there and see what we got. Okay, hopefully you can read this gauge. So we got nothing on 6. We got compression on 5. Not a lot, but some. 4. Nothing on 2. So 2 and 6 don't have any compression. We must have a valve hanging up. Let's see what we got here. Two's got a little. We'll throw a little oil in the cylinder, try to see if the compression will come up on the rest of them. Alright, that might seem like a little overkill of oil, but I want to be able to push it up and blow it into the guides. try to lubricate the valves. Let's throw the plugs back in so don't make a horrible mess. Then we're going to have to address that valve on number 5. Hopefully we can just tap it and get it broke loose. Alright, let's give her a whirl. Okay. These old flat 6s are pretty notorious for valves hanging up in them when they sit forever. Let's see where compression came up a little bit. Well, the compression come up a little bit, but we still got to address number 5. Get a light in there and see if I can see a valve open. Can't really see anything in there. I'm gonna have to go in with a bent screwdriver and do a little feeling around. I'll be back. Alright everybody, so I got lucky just by letting it soak. I threw a little heat in there from the torch and let go. So we now have some compression on 5. The intake valve was hung up. So we have good compression on 5. So now let's see if we can get a little spark to this thing and see if we can get it to fire. The card's going to have to come off. The throttle blade is stuck. So the card's going to need a kit, but we can at least see if we can throw a little gas to it and get it to fire. See if we can hear it run. So I'll have to pull the cap off, clean the points up a little bit, and see if we can get some spark out of this little girl. Alright, get in here and get some of these points cleaned up a little bit. It's kind of a bugger one-handed. So while we don't have spark at the moment, I'm suspecting a coil. I hopped in here just to see. And we're getting oil pressure. So that's a plus. The points will break, but I can't get any spark. I suspect the coil is bad and the wiring is horrible, so I'm going to throw some new wire, a new wire from the coil to the distributor and get a new coil and see where we go from there. Alright guys, I got my new points and condenser and the rest of my parts I need to get spark. I got a new coil. So to make life easier, I just pulled the distributor out, did it on a bench, set it all up. It's way easier. You just have to make sure that you index it when you pull it out so you can put it right back in so you don't deviate on your timing. So let's get everything hooked up, see if we can get some spark out of this old girl. Alright guys, we got everything put together. We have spark now, which is good. The coil must have been bad because I got a little spark out of the old points, but like I said before, I couldn't get anything up to the wires. So the new coil and points seem to take care of it, so we've got good spark. And if you're looking, you can see that there's no carburetor sitting on this. If you remember, I said the carburetor was froze. Now as you can see, I took the base plate off of the carburetor. Now a lot of guys will beat on these, which you run a chance of destroying it to get them broke loose. What I've found the easiest way to do is on a nice piece of steel like this. If you can get it off, take an old deep fryer, something you can pick up at a garage sale for a couple of bucks. Just throw some vegetable oil in it like you're going to make some French fries. Turn it up to 400 and let it soak for about 20 minutes. And as you can see, you got nice operation. Didn't have to beat on it, nothing. the heat will help expand it, and the oil will lube it at the same time and break the rust loose. So I'm going to bolt this back on the carburetor, throw the carb on this, put some plugs in this, and see if we can get this little girl to talk to us. Stay tuned. Alright, we got the carburetor set back on there. I'm going to throw some plugs in it and see if we can get this thing to fire. It might run a touch, but not very long. I just want to get this and see if it has enough compression to fire and run. I don't have any coolant in it, and the water pump on this is supposedly bad, so for the moment we're going to just see if we can get it to fire. Then we'll address a fuel pump, hook up the fuel tank, put it back in, and see if we can get it to sustain running for a while. Alright, I'll turn the key on. Grab a little gas. See if this thing will fire. To throw a battery charger on this, see if we can get it to crank a little faster. Alright, battery charger hooked up. Let's see if we can get it to spin a little faster. See if it'll try to fire. She tried to, it sounds like, tried to fire a bit. Get the battery charger, stay on boost. Splash of gas. try it. Hey, all right, there we go. Let's see if we can get it to run a little longer this time.
Okay.
All right, battery charger is kicked off. Kick it back on. All right, let's try her again. All right, this little girl needs more juice. She's smoking. This battery's a little weak. Let's see if it'll fire up again. All right, I gotta get more juice to this old girl. Well, I might have to jump this off at 12 volt to get enough cranking on this thing to fire. Well, at least you saw it fire to start with. So I'm going to get the battery on here, let this battery charge up a little more, and we'll give this another try. Alright, I'll let this charge for about an hour. I'll turn the key on. Hopefully it cranks a little faster. Then we can get it to run for 20-30 seconds. Well, it sounds pretty good. We're definitely going to have to figure out a fuel supply. Come on, catch. Let's see here. We're definitely getting smoky in here. We're burning that old oil off. Let me grab a little more gas. We'll try this again. Alright, so one of the problems this pickup was put the tree roll for is the water pump was locking up in it, which is done again, which is I think why it's turning so hard. So I cut the belt. So we're going to try some starting fluid and see if we can get it to run a little longer just on starting fluid. Yeah, definitely cranks better now. Okay, so that was definitely part of our problem. So I got the throttle wide open. I got to cut that back somehow so it doesn't try to take off on me. I'll get that wired down about quarter throttle and we'll try this again. Alright, the throttle just cracked a little bit, so it shouldn't take off like last time. Let's try this again. See if we can get it to run a bit. Well, I guess we can call that a success. So now I'm definitely going to have to probably tear this carb apart, throw a kit in it, get some kind of linkage hooked up to it, address a fuel pump, put the fuel tank back in it, get that all hooked up, plumbed up, and we'll see if we can get it to sit here and start on its own and run and idle. After that, we'll have to address the water pump. But everything sounds good. We don't have any knocks. Seems to be hitting on all 6 cylinders. So it's doing pretty good after sitting 40 years. So I'll be back once I get a carb kit, and we'll go from there. See you later. Alright guys, welcome back. So I got my carb kit, got it installed. I've got electric fuel pump hooked up to a small tank. I'll kick that on here in a second, and we'll see if this thing will fire up and run on the carb. Key on, hit it. Yes? Hit it. it. It didn't die. I'd kicked the fuel pump off, so I just run it out of fuel. Sounded pretty good. Everything in the bottom end sounds okay. So, I guess, will it run? Yes, it will. Now we just have to concentrate on getting it to drive. I'm going to cut this video short here now and end this for the will it run part. So, next, I'll make a video to continue continuation on this. So I'll have to put a water pump on it. We're going to have to rebuild the generator. I still have to put the fuel tank back in it. I'm assuming we're going to need a new fuel pump also after sitting all these years. Then we should be able to get it to drive. There also is a broken front axle in this. I'm going to see if I can get an axle, get it swapped out so we got four-wheel drive back in it. Maybe concentrate on some brakes a little bit, see if we can get it to stop. And we might even throw a little paint on this old girl, make her shine again. But if you guys liked what you saw, if you got interest in this kind of thing, throw me a like, subscribe to the channel, click your notifications just so you don't miss the next section of this one as we finish it. And I just wanted to say appreciate all you guys watching. Have a good day, stay tuned, and let's see if we can get these old girls back on the road again. Take it easy.